Good day, evening, night, whenever it is that you're watching this. Welcome to Around the Lake for this week. I'm Josh Brokaw, your host of the Ithaca Times, and joining me today is Warren Greenwood, arts writer for the Times, and we're sitting here with Becky Lane, director, creator, any other titles you'd like to append?
Writer, director.
Of the Chanticleer, which is set at the local Ithaca bar of that name under the sign of the Rooster. And Becky, tell us a little bit about your show.
Okay, well, it is a web series that is set in 1955 about a woman named Edie Chaucer who comes home to Ithaca to inherit the bar. And she finds that her father had started a house of ill repute, I guess I would call it, in her absence, and she vows to clean it up, and she hires a bartender who stirs up a little controversy, and it's really about how people come together at the Chanticleer and how cultures clash. I guess that's it in a nutshell.
The cultures that you, as you put it, are clashing here are quite... I'm pretty intrigued, having watched the first episode, which I believe was just recently released, right? Mm-hmm. And so you'll be releasing, they're about 7-minute episodes, you'll be releasing them about every week here?
Every 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks,
so
okay.
We released one on the 1st, we'll release another one on the 15th, and 2 weeks after that.
Okay, and for a total of 6 episodes.
6 episodes right now. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to get to the sort of, I guess what for many people would be the hook of the tone and the style of your show is based, as I understand it, under Pulp Fiction, I guess you might say.
Yeah, it's inspired by the lesbian Pulp Fiction novels of 1955, the 1940s to late 50s. So it's sort of a little bit of camp, a little bit of high drama, but definitely narrative storylines going through the whole piece.
And so I think you were explaining to me as sort of this kind of might be the basis of a larger project as you go forward. This project has been going for some time now.
Yeah, I mean, we shot it, I guess, about almost 2 years ago. We started the project, and we made it 3 episodes, and we were really proud of them. I thought that they looked fantastic, and we got great reception for them. And we were at the point where we were thinking, like, maybe we should make this into a feature film. So I batted that idea around for a while and finally came to the decision that I would like to do a feature film, but chances are I would have to reshoot the material anyway, because of, the time had passed, and for a feature film I would want more production value. I think what we have looks great, but I'd want a higher level camera.
Prettier, yeah.
So we decided to just go ahead and continue with the web series, make more episodes, put them online, and try and generate interest for making more webisodes or raising the money to make a feature film.
Sure. Have you had a chance to watch?
Yeah, I actually saw like a screening over at Cinemapolis. I loved it. Yeah, I just adored the characters. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, they're fun.
And we were talking earlier. You were telling me you were acting, and is that how you segued into writing and directing? How did the directing thing come about?
Well, yeah, I came here and I stumbled across the Actors Workshop and took their classes. It's Actors Workshop of Ithaca. It's just a local film or local acting school, and I started acting in student films, and then I started going to New York and trying to audition, and I got a few bit parts here and there. But what really, when I was looking at the audition notices, there was no roles for people like me, middle-aged women. So I'm like, well, I'm going to write something. So I wrote my first film, Hens and Chicks, with the idea that I would act in it. But the more I started getting into the whole logistics of filmmaking, the more I realized it became very clear that I cannot act and direct. And I really, really love telling a story, and telling a story in a visual way, and working with sound and images and just working with actors, that was kind of it. That was the aha moment that I had, that I really want to be just a filmmaker. So I made Hens and Chicks, and then I made a film called Poker Face that also played the festival circuit. Then I made a little experimental film called Happy Hour, which we shot at the Chanticleer, which gave me the idea of this whole series set in that 50s time period, and wanted to make that a much larger project. So it's kind of a long answer to your question, but yes, acting started the whole ball rolling.
It kind of evolved into storytelling was the main thing.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, as you mentioned, the logistics of storytelling. When you're shooting in a bar that obviously is serving drinks at least 12 hours out of the, out of the 24 hours of the day.
It's true. I mean, luckily, the Chanticleer, the staff is amazing. They're really helpful. Jeff when I first approached them, they were really welcoming, and he moved out all the video games and helped put the vintage phone up, and just incredibly helpful. So that said, we could only be in there when they're not in there.
Sure.
So that's a little bit of, it's kind of hard for everybody. So I don't know, if we shoot a feature film, maybe if the price is right, we could rent the whole thing, or maybe we build a set, or we'll have to see, because I just love the bar with the old wood and the roosters on the wall, and that sign, of course, is so iconic.
Yeah.
I think that's what drew me into the place in the beginning.
Sure. I think that's the point of the sign, is to draw you into the bar.
Well, it works. It definitely works.
So tell me about getting actors up and here, because as you said, that's common knowledge that Ithaca is kind of out there for a lot of people, at least those who are based in.
Yeah, I was
Brooklyn
going to ask
something.
the same thing, but I was thinking there's a big theater scene happening here.
We're
right?
really
Yeah,
lucky
it's
here.
Curious, yeah.
Yeah.
What's your mix of people in the Chanticleer as this series? Because it's quite a large cast.
It is,
isn't
it is, yeah, and we're so lucky here in Ithaca to have such a wealth of talent that I could put an announcement out and have many people to choose from here. So I tried to cast as many local people as I could. I also put notice out in New York City, and I had met an actress years ago. I saw her on stage, and when I saw her act, I said, well, I want to work with her, and that she's the one who plays the lead. So I had her in mind as I was writing the show. I also, but now my actors are all kind of spread out. Annie lives in Oregon. There's another gal who lives in North Carolina. There's two more who live in New York. So we all had to come together, at least those four, to make the Chanticleer. Daryl lives in Ohio now. And but luckily, we have a lot of local actors here, too. Eliza Van Court, Erica Steenhagen, Darcy Rose, and David Cossack, and other people. And we had this huge bar scene, and it's always great to have so many people willing to be extras, and they hopefully think it's fun. I don't think they quite understand that it's a lot of standing around until we're ready to shoot, but we shot something at La Tourelle, they also were wonderful to let us in their barn. And it's this big scene, and everybody has drinks, and they're all smoking because it's the 50s. So on film it looks great, but they're all drinking fake drinks, and they're smoking these horrid herbal cigarettes.
I was going to ask you about the cigarettes thing. You're not supposed to smoke in bars anymore.
No, we get around it by using the herbal, organic, non-toxic things that it all smells like weed anyway, but it's not. It's really herbal cigarettes.
Well, that's important for the viewers at home
Yeah, so
to
now
know
you
the
know.
little tricks behind that sort of authenticity. So moving forward with this, do you see yourself? Is this your next project? Is still working on this project, expanding it, or do you have any other anything in the works?
I've got two things that I would love to do. I mean, I love the Chanticleer. I envision myself making small pieces, moving the web series forward. I would really love to do the feature film. I also have a script called The Road to Poughkeepsie, which is a road trip movie inspired by Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, what a great idea.
Yeah,
Jeez.
and it's these 4 journalists, and they are going to Poughkeepsie for this big conference, and they take Route 17, and along the way they encounter all these characters, weird characters inspired by that book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really funny, and I really would love to do that. It wouldn't cost as much money to do as much as the period piece where we'd have to build sets and have costume and do
Women are wearing
authentic-
veils and like.
Yeah, so those are the projects I have in the works. So hopefully, I could envision doing The Road to Poughkeepsie to help fund the Chanticleer movie. I think that would be a nice order of things to do, but we'll see. We'll see. It all takes money, which is the hardest thing about making a film, is finding the funding. You know, we were lucky because we did an Indiegogo campaign, and we had a lot of really amazing, generous people donate to help us make the Chanticleer. Sure. I think we raised like $6,000. But for a feature, you know, we would need, for the Road to Poughkeepsie, we would need like maybe 10 times that to make, because we'd be shooting
To make
for
a
weeks.
feature.
Yeah, and that's really low, but we could do it.
That's still a shoestring.
It is,
Even though it's a lot of
absolutely.
people's annual salary,
Yes,
sure.
it is. It's absolutely a shoestring when you're talking about indie film even.
So,
I was going to ask you, do you enjoy the writing process? You know, the reason I thought about it is I saw the director Nicholas Roeg talk in Hollywood once, and someone asked him about, I guess he'd written a screenplay or two, and they asked him about screenwriting, and he was talking about how much he hated writing, that he didn't really like it. He didn't like the loneliness of it. He didn't like being.
I agree.
And he said he loved being on the set. He loved the kind of gregarious.
yeah, which way do you lean? Like, are you?
You know, it's hard to say because it is lonely. You know, it's like golf though, but because when you hit the ball right and you're in a groove, it's just great.
It doesn't bother me, but I came from a background of being a comic book artist, where you're sort of, you're working all alone and stuff. But I thought it was such an interesting answer, and I thought, oh, you write screenplays too, could you be, like at the beginning process, and I was sort of wondering like how you.
I always tell people that I write things so I can make them.
Fair enough.
Because I love making things, and I love the collaborative process of working with actors and working with the DP and working with Noni, the editor, and Karen behind the camera, and Mary Lorson, who does our music. So that's the part I really love, and but I also love having control over the world, and having it just kind of come out of my head. It's a little kind of scary sometimes because you wonder what people think of you. It's like, but I do enjoy the writing too, but not as much as I'd like the making.
Well, Becky, we're running out of time, unfortunately. But in the time that we've talked here, people can watch 2 of your webisodes.
Yes.
At thechanticleer.tv, was
That's
it?
right.
Is that correct?
That's right. thechanticleer.tv.
And the first one is out now, the debut episode, and they'll be coming out every 2 weeks. The next one on March 15th. Great. Well, writer-director of the Chanticleer, Becky Lane. And stick around. We've got more Around the Lake coming up with the Rosie app folks. And now we're talking with Nicole Burton, to the far right, and Michael Crelin of Rosie app, which is a locally produced app to help you shop for groceries. You can read lots about it in this week's Ithaca Times. I went up to Trumansburg and hung out with Brett Seafus of T-Burg Sure Save as he picked out my produce, and I learned a lot about this little invention that you guys are working on out of Rev, Ithaca's startup innovator, or startup works, I suppose it is, out of the Carey building. Michael, Nicole, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Do you guys, I guess for Warren here, who before we started filming asked me, what's a G-damned app? Perhaps start from the beginning, exactly what Rosie is, and then we'll talk a little bit, keep talking about the business. So.
Sure. We partner with local grocery stores to allow individuals to shop online for their products. So you can shop via a app on your phone, or you can go online, and we have a website where you can then choose from the full selection of products from that store and either have those delivered to your home or have them ready to be picked up at the store where they're already bagged.
And your model is independent grocers, so no one's going to be, through Rosie at least, ordering from Walmart anytime soon.
Correct. Our largest chain that we're working with now is about 100 stores.
Okay, which is still in the world of large grocery considered independent.
Yes, yes.
But tell me a little bit about what you guys do. Michael, you're head of business development. Mm-hmm. Nicole, head of creative.
Yes.
Explain to me and to the digital startup venture capitalist novice what these titles mean.
So as head of creative, I basically take care of anything that needs some form of visual design. Okay. So we take in requests from our marketing team, and we'll design print materials like pamphlets or posters. And then there's also the digital side, so we design the app for both the iPhone and Android, as well as the web app. So we take care of anything from the colors to kind of how you walk through the app as a user. Yep.
And then I work with all of our end users, whether those be individual customers who are shopping on our site or the retailers who are using it to operate their online shopping businesses.
So if, say, Warren gets on there not knowing what an app is, you're the man that he calls,
yes,
right?
Yes, sir.
What is an app? Yeah.
I think that's a serious question. if you could give me a good, one-sentence answer.
I'm from another century. What is an app?
So an app is basically...
See, it's tough.
Yeah, it is difficult.
We throw it around a lot. But.
I would say that it is...
it's like an application you can use.
Yeah, it's like an application, like a tool
computer.
that you can use on your phone to do very specific things. Mm-hmm. And we get to define what those things are. In the case of Rosie, it's a tool that you can use to shop from local grocers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it interesting in my conversations with John that the idea is you develop it. Now, if you get on the first time, obviously, they're going to show you some products in the window and, milk, eggs, what have you. Mm-hmm. But as you develop it, as you keep using it, the idea is kind of like Netflix to have kind of a recommendation engine.
Yeah, that's what's really cool about Rosie is that we can personalize the service for each individual user. So when I go onto Rosie, I see a different set of products than what either of you would see based off of my previous shopping habits. Yeah, so it just makes it ever more convenient for the user because instead of searching around, you have all your favorite products right there, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
I thought another thing I found interesting, and Michael, you might be able to speak to this considering your job description. Speaking with John, is that you've actually found that, I guess, grocery delivery, when people initially hear it, sounds like this very bougie, middle class, it's sort of a luxurious thing. Oh, I have my personal shopper. But it sounds like you guys have had a fair amount of use from people who maybe don't have a car, fairly low income, can't get to the store, Do you have much interaction with folks like those?
Yes. We
seniors too.
What's really cool about our jobs is that I'm so confident that we are doing a good thing. I get calls from individuals who depend on our service because a taxi drive to the grocery store is much more expensive than a $3.99 fee to have it all sent and picked to your door. We have retailers in different areas, and they all are able to use our service in a different way. So we work with PNC Fresh here, and there's a large college population. So they have a lot of student users who don't have cars, they don't have easy access to transportation, so they're able to service those users. Then there's local businesses as well as apartments on Cornell and Ithaca College, and they place their weekly orders through us so that they get the large sum of apples, bananas, all delivered to the office.
Oh, cool.
Then you also have your rural stores. You went to Trumansburg. So they do a much broader delivery range, so they're able to both better serve the individuals who are currently shopping with them, and also bring the service to more individuals who previously weren't able to make it to the store. So it's certainly not a single niche
Yeah.
audience.
I was just sort of curious, how do you know how to tailor this to a specific individual? How do you get that information? It makes me think of the TV show The Prisoner from my time period. Like, but how do you get?
Yeah, that's the great thing about the grocery industry is people typically don't think of it as a high-tech industry, but what they have is a lot of data because they do so many different transactions that when you sign up on our site, you give some basic information, you know, your gender, your age, your household size, and we're able to extract from that what a typical buy or what a typical person would buy. And then based off of your actual orders, we can make that even more precise for you.
Nicole, tell me a little bit about what goes into designing the look of an app like this. Like what sort of changes? You said you've been with them about 2 years.
Yes.
How do you incorporate feedback as you go?
How do we incorporate feedback? Well, it's usually funneled through anybody who interacts with our customers. So a lot from Crelin, a lot from our founders, and when it comes to designing apps, customers they have a lot of trouble articulating how they would use something in a hypothetical sense.
Sure.
So it's our jobs to kind of take their feedback and funnel it into, okay, what is the central problem that we need to solve here? And then from there, we can kind of modularly apply different solutions to that problem until we find the best one. And then it's very iterative from there. So the cycle goes back, we get more feedback, we adjust,
Sure.
and it continues that way.
So I was told by one of your founders, John Ambrose, that you're planning on expanding to 150 more stores, I believe.
Yes.
In this year. Right
Yes.
now it's at 23 in 9 states. Are you guys going to get any help, or are you going to be taking calls, Michael, from all of those people?
Yes, we do expand, or we do expect to expand as we grow into more markets. The nice thing is that a lot of these independent grocers are partnered with these wholesale groups, and these different wholesalers provide a lot of assistance.
Like a
to the
Surefine or
stores.
something like that?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So they're able to really make it a pretty lean process, both on the store side and on our side.
Great. All right, well, that's going to do it for Around the Lake this week with Nicole Burton and Michael Crelin of Rosie app. Arts writer Warren Greenwood. I'm Josh Brokaw of the Ithaca Times. Thank you for going around the lake with us this week.